Apologize. I had some issues going on. I wasn't able to be here for you with the take, but looking back to last Friday, the markets had a little bit of pressure on them. Where was that pressure really coming from? It really started with Amazon. But we'll get into a little bit deeper on that. So the Dow was down about 200 points, did recover a little bit. We finished the day down about 150 points. Then you look over at the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ was under pressure as well. It was down over 100 points on the day, about 0.75% to the downside, but not that terribly far from the all-time highs for all of these major indices. And we've seen a little bit of movement to the upside today that's kind of pushing on some of those little areas in which the markets have been performing so well. And I'll tell you, when I look across and I see crude just kind of grinding a little bit higher and higher, last Friday got up towards that 74 level before closing and didn't quite get through there. But interesting to see the level of where crude was pushing up to. The 10-year has been under a little bit more and more pressure. I think folks are going to start paying more attention to this as we get a little further along. If we continue on the path that we are, we were underneath 1.25 as it finished up last week. So definitely slipping down from where we had kind of rallied back from. Now, Bitcoin. Now, that one was absolutely on fire on Friday. We had a nice big jump to the upside, up and over 42,000 for Bitcoin. It's under some pressure today. It actually pulled back over the weekend a little bit, and then some pressure today as well. We had great volumes on Friday. Again, a little over 38 million contracts trading on Friday in the derivatives markets. Tesla, 2.3 million. AMD, 1.6 million. Apple, 1.45 million. Some really incredible volumes coming into the derivatives market. We've been talking about how it's been sustained. It's been very, very strong. We did have a little bit of a dip into the lower 30 million category, but pushing back a little bit closer to that 40 million mark and really, really, really strong. Consumer discretion under pressure. Why? Well, Amazon. Amazon was down about 7.5%. That was certainly pulling on things. eBay also was down about 7%. We look across, there are certain areas of the marketplace that just were not performing. And that was really sort of the leadership role of what was pushing the markets lower. Energy was down about 1.75%. So that area is certainly under pressure. You had the financials also under pressure. Technology kind of flat, but where did we really stand out? How about what we were seeing out of the semiconductors? Now, as a group, only up about 0.5%, but that's on a day where most everything else is pushing down 1% or thereabouts, maybe even a little bit more. And yet you look over at the semiconductors, how about AMD? Jumping and absolutely screaming to the upside and getting up and through that 106. And again, I have to let you guys know, a lot of guys were really excited that owned stock in AMD. That's great. Stock went from, we had that earlier in the week, we had that big 93 strike that they were buying those calls. Then they moved up to the 101 strike where they were buying those calls. I got to tell you, the performance from those options and this game that we all play each and every day in this world of the trading of the markets, you're looking for performance. So you want to see what's really going to move and catapult to the upside. The amount of buying we'd seen out of AMD certainly signaled that looked like that was going to be the case, and it absolutely was. Those 93 calls, they were screaming to the upside as the stock got up and over and got through 100. The 101 calls were getting bought last week when the stock was trading near 101 and then catapulted over 106. Everything that we were looking at, however, had expired. So we'll see if we start to see more flows coming back into AMD. But when you look at that percentage of return, absolutely extraordinary. And those are big, big numbers on those returns when you're talking about the 93 strike and the 101 strike, and all of which expired last Friday. Just incredible just how fast things move and the percentage gains that you were seeing across that board. So Xilinx, Lam Research, Applied Materials, all those names definitely participating. And that really was the strong part of what was a relatively weak market, but a very strong July. So as we come out of July and now we kick into August, we still have to keep an eye on these major indices, of course, but also earnings season just keeps on rolling along. So we'll get into that in just a second. In the pre-market, we were up close to 100 points on the Dow, about 60 points on the NASDAQ. We've kind of fluctuated it back and forth in between a little bit as we've moved into the first hour of trade. But the last time I looked, I was looking at the markets being up close to 200 points on the Dow and still about 65 points on the NASDAQ. So even though we've had a little bit of ebb and flow and a little bit of movement that we've seen here, it's about where we were looking when we were staring at the pre-markets. Volatility 18 and a half. We closed out around 18 and a quarter. We've come back a little bit. Now we're getting a little bit closer towards that 18 and a quarter. People definitely feeling a little bit more comfortable. And as we push towards that 20, we've talked about this. Will we ever get above 20 and have any sustainability above 20? It hasn't happened for a while. We've had some pokes over above, but we have not had that sustainability over 20. And here we are trading back towards those lower 18s. Crude down a little bit, and yet the energy sector is absolutely on fire. The 10-year down a little bit, yet the financials absolutely on fire. Bitcoin is off of that, as I mentioned, that 42,000 level, now underneath 39,000. So it's a really interesting to see exactly how things are unfolding there. Now, energy did have a pop, and we were looking at stocks that were up about 2%. That's pulled back a little bit, but we're still seeing incredible numbers. When you look at Chevron, you look at ConocoPhillips, when you look at a lot of these various numbers, and then you start to look over at some of the names that are in that XOP type of category with Occidental and all the rest of these names, the Devons of the world, Apache, all these names, having a pretty good day, pretty strong day so far. Semiconductors, another new high. Yep, we bounced all the way back to hit even higher highs. One of the areas of the market that really did stand out, however, today was Square. And I bring this up because when I look at Square and in the pre-market, it was a big storyline, $29 billion deal, grabbing Afterpay rather. And it seemed like the stock was definitely under pressure. The initial reaction, sell a little bit of this stock down a little bit, down about 5% in the pre-market. Next thing you know, it's up about 2.5%. And last I looked, Square was sprinting to the upside, about 7% move to the upside. So a big major turnaround from that pre-market, some of the announcement there and the pre-announcement of the earnings themselves, really giving this thing a really huge lift to the upside. Another one getting a big lift, and I mentioned these semiconductors, microchip. Really, really impressive. Some of the numbers up about 5%. On Semi, that name was on absolute fire. Earnings were absolutely extraordinary. And when I last looked, it could have changed by now, but ON up about 12%. So semiconductors definitely getting a bit of a lift, and that's why we are seeing the SMH hitting these new highs. So we also had a lot of different other names. Under Armour looking pretty strong early on, up about 4%. But Tesla stands out big time. Tesla up about 3.5%, 4% in the pre-markets. And that's something I want to focus on because, hey, we've got some unusual activity. We've got two of them. How about starting off with Tesla? So Tesla, as I mentioned, it was up already in the pre-market. Stock was trading around 712. Yeah, breaking through that 700 level. It's trading 712. We had a buyer of 20,000 of this week's expiring August 6th, 750 calls. So 20,000 of the 750 calls. This is a pretty major buy that we're seeing out of Tesla. 270 all the way up to about 670 on these options. Next, Morgan Stanley, a little bit different. I was saying that the financials were moving to the upside. Morgan Stanley's pulled back a little bit, but when the stock was trading a little closer to 98, they were buying again, very short term, the August 6th expiring, so Friday. So we got a little bit of time, but not a whole lot of time for these to up and shoot through that area of 98. So they were buying 3,000 of the 98 calls that do expire on Friday, anywhere from 70 cents up to about $1.25. Stock pulling back a little bit, those might have got a little bit cheaper as well. So something to keep an eye on. What else you're going to want to keep your eye on is today, after the close, right at the close, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock Eastern time, we've got our market roundtable. Tony Dwyer, who's one of our great guests who comes on frequently, does an unbelievable job of laying out his thoughts on the marketplace. Look forward to seeing that. And I'll tell you what, you're going to want to see that as well. That's right at the close today, 3 o'clock. You're going to want to catch Tony Dwyer and the opinions he's got. And obviously representing Canaccord does an absolutely amazing job. Tony's a great friend, does a really good job for us at Market Rebellion. We really appreciate all the help and his time that he donates to us as well. Folks, have a great day of trading, and we'll see you tomorrow.